Wait. It just hit me like we're not casting the PvP. We got a ZVP!
We got a ZVP! We are not casting the PvP. Of course, you know, if we get a chance to, we will jump into that series if this is a lot faster. But we are here, mates. We're getting ready for our first Zerg of the day.
Surprisingly. You know, I would normally say that it's a PvP. It's going to finish up, like, real quick. But that's also stats and trap.
Yeah, it is. It is. You know, stats.
If there was ever a PvP that would go into the ace match, that would be it.
For sure, and that could happen, but that is not going to be on this stream. That again, that will be covered by Maddox in Korean if you want to tune into that series. Meanwhile, we've got that ZVP.
It's just like home, and here we have in the top right-hand corner map, spawning all the way in the top right-hand corner of PvZ, LE, holding up the rest of the corner map pool, also LE. We have the red Zerg player coming down from South Korea. He is going to be representing KaiZ Gaming, KZG. We have the brightest player. We have Solar.
Oh my god, and for the first time, both of our players here, they both have teams. We are we are out of the teamless portion of the brackets. We are here with the Protoss player in the bottom left-hand corner of PvZ LE. He is blue. He is representing Raise Your Edge Gaming, RYEG. It is Zest.
Man, we are just going down memory lane today, aren't we?
Oh yeah, it's been a while.
Back in the 2016 action, early 2016 action.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure these two have faced each other many times this year, but it's been a while since we have casted them together, and we'll see what Zest has in store for us. We've seen in previous weeks, I think it was just last week, Zest versus Rogue, where Zest he was really favoring the Stargate play, and Rogue eventually shut it down. It was pretty close. It went all the way to the ace match.
Yeah, for some reason, Zest and Rogue have been really close, no matter who wins. But this is a bit of a different story here. Solar, he is not necessarily one to... how shall I describe how Rogue plays? Not necessarily one to do whatever. He is definitely... If there was ever a Zerg player who I would say is the most reactive, it would probably be Solar.
Yeah, like... as we saw last week, like even Rogue, he whipped out like early, like willing Bane Bust as well against Zest. He was willing to turn on the aggression, not just be the reactive Zerg. Meanwhile, that is, as you said, that is kind of what Solar is a little bit more known for. But we'll see. Again, like I feel like Rogue and Solar, they are the top two, currently the top two Zergs in South Korea. And they both have their own, you know, twist of things, their own little styles.
I'm pulling out for Armani, but yeah, that's... If I'm being unbiased, it is going to be Rogue and Solar.
Oh god, and okay, we do have a Stargate opener once again coming out from Zest. This is kind of what we know him for. You know, every now and then, rarely does he whip out the Twilight Counter opener in a best of 5.
Oh yeah. You think Trap is a wing commander? Well, he's just about passed his captain hat over to Zest in recent months.
Zest is the captain now.
Look at me.
Look at me. Oh,
look at me, Hector.
Oh god.
Amalgamation of both those characters.
It's fitting
That's
as well
what
because
be.
I don't know if you remember this. It's a bit of a passing of the hats because there was a captain hat in Home Story Cup, and Zest, he held it for quite some time.
Was at the capital hat. But now I think Hearthstem is unwilling to give it up.
Yeah, exactly. I can't remember if they gave it to Cyril, if they even brought it to Home Story Cup. I imagine they should have.
I think they did. But there is only one capital in my head, and that's Hearthstem.
There can be only one, and we do see, Zest did go for a Void Ray opener, was, trying to get rid of all the vision here of Solar, the Overlord, a couple of Lings. Meanwhile, Solar, he's getting a decent amount of Lings himself, still no Lair or Roachhorn or Baneling Nest.
Yeah, once again, does not want to commit to any tech without knowing exactly what Zest wants to go for. That's the second Stargate being thrown down.
Yeah.
Another Void Ray in production. Please don't make too many Void Rays here, Zest. It can happen way too easily.
This is what we saw last week. Zest, he favored this opener so often going into those Void Rays, eventually going into that endgame Skytoss army with carriers. And to be fair, it wasn't just Zest. Stas was doing the same thing. This has become very popular in the current meta. And, we'll see how Solar is going to be able to deal with this.
You can thank Paco Mike for that.
It was all Paco Mike.
God damn it.
Funada's in the chats, if you will, and so far, that Void Ray count is getting larger and larger. Meanwhile, again, a decent amount of Lings coming out here for Solar.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how Void Rays interact with Zerglings. They are so fast that they can just completely avoid the Void Rays, but they have such little health that even though the Void Rays technically aren't supposed to do that much damage against light units like Zerglings, they do kind of die anyway.
Yeah, definitely, and he is just kind of checking the edges of the map, and I love this. So sorry, I did miss this. The lair was complete. We do have a Roachhorn thrown down, and he's going for a Nidus.
And that's one way of avoiding those anti-armor units like the Void Rays. They may have been buffed, but that's still quite a bit of ground to cover here on Pills of Gold if they're, say, in the third base like this, and then have to go all the way back into the main. We'll see if Solar, if he decides to use this as a reinforcing Nidus, or if he uses this as a backdoor Nidus, if you will.
We'll see as the first Nidus is turned down over on the right-hand side. Again, a decent amount of Queens have been made for Solar. That's going to be his anti of choice, and he has opted, he doesn't want to play into that late-game ZVP. He wants to end the game fast. He wants to end it now as soon as possible.
And here come the Queens. There are quite a lot of them, and they do have a lot of energy with them for those transfuses. Most of the Roaches here being morphed into Ravages. So again, this is just going to be tougher for these Void Rays to deal with. They do not get that bonus damage against Queens and
there are just
Ravagers.
There are just so many Void Rays. Like there's so much here. We'll see if the transfuses and the bars are going to be enough to push through, because Zest, he's getting more and more shield batteries thrown down to help support these Void Rays.
Yeah, well within range of Nexus, always has that overcharge available to him. But Solar's inching closer and closer. Zest trying to deny this, but the Nidus will get denied.
Oh,
not enough creep here for the Queens to maneuver.
Yeah, and interesting, Zest, he does focus down the Ravager as well, realizing that he has to keep his structures alive. The Biles are here to try and shell down those shield batteries, but it's not going to be happening. There are only 3. Okay, another does get morphed in.
And that should just about be enough to start one-shotting these pylons. Well, maybe not the pylons, but the shield batteries definitely. Again, it's getting a little bit scary here for Zest as Solar continues to creep his way closer, making nothing but Zerglings right now, as he has the amount of Ravagers that he needs to start shelling away at the Protoss army and infrastructure. Exactly. That's the first battery overcharge being used.
Oh, that is the first one being used, and it's a little bit wasted as well. We do have a couple of spores morphing in as well, slowly inching their way closer, because again, that's so much anti-air here, so much DPS potential to take out those Void Rays. And Zest, okay, I thought he was going to send some across the map. I was like, whoa, buddy, calm down.
But he is focused over here. Does not want to go for any counter harass. He cannot afford it whatsoever. These Void Rays really do have to start, focusing all their beams onto a single unit at a time. Because they don't do too much when they don't have it, when their units that they're attacking doesn't have an armor tag.
Yeah, exactly. And Zest, he is slowly pushing the army back, but another wave of Lings do come through the Nidus.
And it does chase Zest back a little bit. I mean, it buys him some time to get his Queens into position, but I mean, Zest has not lost too many Void Rays here.
Yeah, he's lost 5 in total, but he's still got plenty here to dive in. It looks like he's just kind of waiting for his shields to recharge at the moment. Another overcharge is used.
That is absolutely key right now. Here come the Biles. Not quite enough Lando. And I feel like Zest has just enough to hold here if he continues with this concave. As he starts to continue moving in, denies the Ravager completely, cannot afford to go too deep onto the creep.
I mean, what's important
is keeping this Durg army back.
What's important is that the transfuses ran out. These queens, they have no more energy. That is it for the queens. The last one is used, but there's just not enough queens here, not enough energy. Only one spore remaining, and these Void Rays, mate, they reign supreme.
Such a war of attrition. GG is called in the end in Zest's favor.
GG. And oh my god, I like Solar's tenacity. What he did is kind of what you do if your opponent is going for like a fast Spire in ZVZ, and you know it's trying to counter those Void Rays. But Zest, he was so patient. So often he just kind of backed off and he allowed his structures to tank some damage, and really he was very conservative with the use of his Void Rays.
Yep, he knew exactly what he could afford to lose and exactly what he could afford to sacrifice. And with that, he just won the war of attrition. It really did sort of come down to the lack of transfuses in the end. A couple of biles, and just catching up on stream now, did also get a little bit whiffed.
Yeah.
So in the end, Zest, he has to rethink that denial of allowing Zest to become one of his shield.
Yeah, it's one of those things where he assumed that, hey, you know, this isn't the Shield of Fire. I can break this Protoss. No, you cannot. Zest, he's better than that.
He is. Some would argue that he is best. Best internet, though.
Oh no, Zest, please! You're in Korea. You have some of the best internet in the world. Okay, he's back. He's back.
There we go, and here we are in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the bottom left-hand corner of Jagannatha LE, the red Zerg player coming down from South Korea. He is representing KZ Gaming, KZG, denying power into Zest building. We have Sola battle.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Jagannatha LE, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the Blue Protoss. His internet is looking a little bit shaky, but hopefully it can stand strong here for game number 2. He is representing Raise Your Edge Gaming, RYEG. It is Zest.
Yeah, Zest, he thought, you know what? I'm gonna have at least my internet, you know, run on more renewable source of energy, right? You know, solar power. Just forget about the fact that it's nighttime currently in Korea. You know, on solar power, but solar, he says, I control the sun.
Yeah. We fight in the shade. That's why his internet cut out. There was no sun.
There we go. Just forget about the part where it's nighttime in Korea. Till 8:11 p.m.
Yeah, it is quite late in the land of Korea. A couple of people asking in the chat, the semifinals are a best of 5, so both this and Trap versus Stats are duking it out in these longer series. Oh boy, and we'll see how this turns out for Zest, because already a pretty strong start.
Yeah, didn't really have to, well, he still had to do a lot there. I don't want to say he didn't have to do much, but yeah, didn't have to, you know, resort to changing what he's comfortable with too much there.
Yeah, essentially, like his build was still denied to go into that later stages of the game. And when he realized the all-in was coming, like, I just love the positioning of all of his stack defense, the cannons, the shield batteries behind the third base. These were these like structures, these buildings that Solar, he never got on top of. Like he could never really get close enough to Bile and really try and deny them.
Yeah, that he really couldn't. And again, on a map like Pillars of Gold, there's always a room to pull back and get a little bit of a pit stop there, you know, get refueled in your shields. Jagannatha, though, there's a lot more corners.
There are, and we'll see what Solar has in store for us, because he could very well, like, there are some Zerg players who have this mindset, who are like, I do not want to get into late game ZVP. I just, not necessarily because I can't win it, but I just don't enjoy it. Like it's, you know,
I'm with him there, and I don't even play Zerg.
Yeah, because you end up in this, especially like I imagine Romanticide was probably vetoed, maybe, but if we end up on it, like we can get up in like in a split map scenario. It's a 25-minute long game. We have a Spore Forest. We have, you know, all of this stuff, and something that we saw last week was that Rogue embraced that very quickly. As soon as Rogue saw what Zest was doing, he just like expands, he macros up, he gets all the upgrades, he already starts his spores, like he just gets ready for that late game scenario. And it could be something that Solar is just like not comfortable with.
Yeah, I would definitely imagine so. When I think of Solar, I don't necessarily think of his late game. I think of him a lot more as a mid game player, right? Can be aggressive in the early game, but that's usually just to put him ahead for when he gets to his lair tech.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll see how Solar responds to this, because so far he hasn't gone in for a scout. He has seen a couple of structures, because what's coming is a big all-in. We got charge on the way, no more gas being mined whatsoever. This is a big charge lot all-in with all these gates.
This is why I miss Zest Light.
Oh god.
I've definitely missed this build coming out in PvZ. Solar building a Roach Warren. He ain't got Bailings for quite some time.
Mate, this could be a quick series. Like, to be fair, this is still game 2, but we got nothing but chargelets coming across the map. We got roaches on the way. Like, you don't need Bailings to defend, but Bailings help the defense so much. It's so much easier to hold if you're a Zerg player. Relying on Lings and Roaches with all these gates being thrown down, Zest is gonna hit hard
and fast, just as Charge is about to finish up here. So they're making a couple of roaches here, and I mean, you know, roaches are still exactly. Roaches are still very useful here if you can get them into a choke point and if you can utilize your SimCity, but we'll see how that goes. Not all of these zealots are attacking. Absolutely key right now for Solar.
Exactly. Nice choke point here from Solar. It looks like the Zealots are starting to break through. All the Lings are down. Another Warden of Zealots as well. The Zealots are getting on top of the Queens.
And there's no anti-air to contest with that Warp Prism. Zest can warp in for days.
Exactly. The Spore is being repositioned, but the Warp Prism just avoids the Spore. All the Queens are dead. Now it's just Roaches to defend, and now a massive warp in into the main.
Just like so. Zest taking the high ground. That choke point is going to be in his favor.
Exactly. He's using Solar's buildings to his advantage, warping in more and more Zealots. He's focusing down the spawning pool even.
Yeah, and here's a funny thing about engaging on open ground. That favors the Zealots. Funnily enough. Normally think of that as being more of a Zerg thing, but yeah, Protoss can make use of it too, depending on the units.
Exactly, and with that, the spawning pool did go down. No more Lings for Solar, just Roaches, and some decent damage as well. To be fair, like this was... Yeah,
I was just gonna say, that also delays his lair for so much longer.
Exactly. I'm sure that's what Zest was thinking when he was focusing it down. It wasn't necessarily the Lings, but delaying that lair for as long as possible. That just like nullifies the usefulness of these Roaches, even diving on top of this Queen.
Yeah, not quite able to take it out, but you know, at least prevents a little bit. Oh, Zest, stop me! It's back in the game. Don't let that be what happens.
Oh my god, the wall was not a wall. We could even see Zest, like, in a panic. He was trying to fill up that wall, plug that hole with those Zealots. In the end, this will get cleaned up. But, you know, 2 probes did go down. Some nice scouting information. What's important is that, like, the worker difference isn't too large. Like, this was a 2-base all-in from Zest. It didn't end the game, but it was enough damage to kind of equalize, and we are just going to continue into the mid-game.
Yeah, equalize somewhat. Solar's still hand up worker count, but the fact that he was forced to remake those drones just means that, you know, Solar, it's going to be a lot longer before he moves across the map.
Definitely, and I'm surprised. The spawning pool was finished. We still didn't see a lair. Like, Solar, he is not taking up. He has the Evo chamber as well. He's not opting to go for any upgrades. It feels like he's just ramping up for this big attack. Interesting.
Falcalaca Reconstitution, that is something that we've seen from Zerg players. The wall is still not a wall.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Every time Zest plays a game where he has an amazing hold, he plays another one immediately after where he doesn't. He completely forgets about defense. It's almost like he uses up all of his defensive capabilities in that one game, and it has to recharge.
Exactly, Zest, mate. You got make sure you got a whole position on that wall, mate. Like, too many times already have Lings slipped on through, and we do see Solar after making that army. It looks like he was more for defense, like make sure he has enough in case Zest was continuing to be aggressive, as he is finally teching up.
Yeah, finally getting that Baneling Nest once again to deal with the Zealots, going into his lair, getting a couple more drones. So yeah, once again, just trying to approach this from the mid game.
That he is, as Lair is going to be finishing up. You know, we have +1 range as well, so we do see Solar is committing with this Roach Ravager for now. Got a Baneling Nest on the way as well, and that's going to help so much with those Banelings. Sorry, with those Zealots.
But it does take a little bit of time for him to start ramping that up. Zest making use of that to finish up his third base, get his own forge on the way, build up his army, getting his key units like these Immortals, like these Archons.
Yeah, and we'll see where Zest decides to go with this, as we do have Storm on the way. We'll see how useful Storm is. Like, again, if Solar commits to a very large Ling Bane army, like, Storm is ideal to deal with those Banelings before they get juicy connections.
Definitely are, but again, it's going to be a while before Zest has those Templar and has those enough energy with them. Nice taking out a couple of these Overlords, you know, force the Solar to remake them, and also just denies a little bit of vision in the middle of the map.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, Solar, he has no vision whatsoever out on the map. That's why he's sending out these spotter links to try and get a decent idea of where the army of Zest is, as he is, you know, working on his Banelings. We got Baneling Speed, we got Glaver Constitution as well. All the speeds on the way for Solar.
Including on this one Ravager. Gotta go fast. Oh, it's been released.
Has been released, and yeah, he's just focusing on his main army. He's got a beautiful amount of workers on 70 drones, which is kind of ideal at this stage of the game. Meanwhile, Zest, he's just kind of chilling at home. Storm is done. He still needs to work on that energy.
Yeah, doesn't quite want to push out yet. Working on his +1. Still trying to get whatever harassment he can. But Solar, he's just right on top of it. He knows he's got a good economy. He's just working to keep it.
Yeah, exactly. Just so many Lings, so many Banelings morphing. And again, this is why these storms are going to be so important for Zest. What's a little bit scary is that there aren't a lot of sentries. There's not a lot of force fields. Like, oh god, like a good surround, and Zest's army could just evaporate.
It really could. So we'll really have to see how well he's able to utilize those sentries. Oof. On the flip side of that, not too many Ravagers here. Only about 6 of them. So yeah, a couple of good force fields can, and well-placed storms can absolutely mean the end of this Ling Bane. That's a nice storm. Sacrifices the Templar, but takes out a lot of Ling Bane. Sacrifices another Templar. That time, not as efficient a trade. Yeah, that one is, though.
Oh, I love it. The offensive storms, but you know what? That was all the storms for Zest. He's only got 2 High Templar here remaining, and they're so vulnerable to these roaches.
They definitely are, and storms are not the most effective spell against roaches. Really wants to focus on using them for Ling Bane.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And Zest just barely has enough to push the army away. He has to be careful. His army is getting split up.
Yeah, he definitely does not want to get collapsed on by a ton of Ling Bane. Quick little reactions here coming from Zest. Should be losing too much.
Oh, God.
Lining up. The main army is getting surrounded, Light.
Oh, yeah, the Zealots, they were not in position to buffer for the main army and the Lings. They got on top of everything, all the Immortals as well. And Solar, he's engaging, is just beautiful. He even biles down the War Prism. I said, but
he needed one more. He needed one more, but he didn't quite get it. Zest keeping his key units alive. And his Archon still here for splash. It does not do... These Zerglings really don't do much against it. Has to be careful now, though. He's lost his Zealot buffer.
Exactly. Like, despite the amazing surround, it looks like there wasn't enough Ling Bane. Now the Zealots are here to reinforce. I'm sure Solar's kicking himself. If he had one more bile, he would have been able to take out that War Prism.
But it may still be enough here for Solar. Still takes a while for Zest to be able to get a nice army out. Forced to cancel that warp in, pick up the Immortal, and go all the way back home. Solar with almost double the army supply. And that's not just in Roach Ravager. It's also in Ling Bane. Well, mostly Lings for the moment, but...
Exactly, and Solar, we'll see if he decides to go for a bit of a counterattack as Zest, he's forced to turn all of his High Templar into these Archons. With these Archons, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for this Ling Roach Ravager to deal some damage. Only just now Banelings are being morphed in.
It is still a fairly beefy defense here coming out from Zest. Still has those shield batteries, trying to harass wherever he can with those Archons.
Oh, but the main army of Zest is a little bit out of position. It's here at the third base location. So Solar is looking for an angle to push into perhaps the natural, but in the end he does back off. He confirms that there is no fourth.
And that's all he really needs here. Solar sitting comfy with 5 bases.
Oh boy, yeah, so like there's no pressure, there's no rush to really push into this army. Like, you know, if he's just able to contain Zest to 3 bases, that is enough for Solar for now, as he's just continuing to get closer to maxing out.
Funnily enough, while Solar might not want to, he might end up getting into that late game split map scenario. Depending on how long Zest stays contained. It's a lot of probes going down to those Banelings, and there's just not quite enough Protoss here to deal with all of the Zerg.
Exactly. Once again, all these Zealots are late to the party. They were not here to buffer, to support the rest of the Immortals. And with this, it looks like there's just enough for Solar to push on and take out this third, take out the army.
And take out Zest. At least from this game, GG is called. Solar tying up that series sideways 1-1.
GG, and things were getting a little bit scary early on, like when Zest went for that big charge lot all in, but he wasn't able to end the game. He wasn't able to close it out, and Solar, he brought it back.
He brought it all the way back home. And that was a very... I really like the opening coming out there from Zest, but his follow-up was just kind of fell flat there. I think he overestimated the amount of damage he got done with it.
Yeah, maybe you could argue that he should have, instead of focusing on that spawning pool, maybe sent his Lings to the natural and just kept trying to get worker kills instead. It's a hard call to make, because when he did kill that spawning pool, it did kind of delay Solar in the follow-up attack. So yeah, it's kind of hard to call what he should have done there, if it even was possible for him to end the game. Like, again, Solar, he had some really nice SimCity to begin with. Like, he was able to stave off the attack as long as he could with his queens, with his spores.
In the end, we are moving here onto Romanticide. LE. LE, of course, standing for Lovers. Española, Lovers Española. That's Amo, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, spawning all... Well, I'm not mistaken, so... spawning all the way in the bottom right-hand corner, the Red Zug player coming down from Korea, representing KaiZ Gaming, KZG. What does he have in store for us this game? Does he want to send it to the split map? We have Solar.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Romanticide LE, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the Blue Protoss, representing Raise Your Edge Gaming, RYEG. It is Zest.
So I was thinking, what is Solar going to do on Romanticide? Because, you know, he's not really one to like playing in those split map scenario, but for now, I guess I should be looking at Zest. He is kind of player who's been switching up his openings as much in this series.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising when he went for that big Zealot all-in. It's something that we don't see too often. And yeah, Zest, he risked going for like a cheeky 2-0 lead in this series, but in the end it kind of bit him, right? He wasn't able to end the game, and now we're in a tied up scenario situation. You know, it's kind of a best of 3 from here on out. Yeah.
If you want to forget that the past 2 games happened.
I'm sure Zest wants to forget.
Yeah.
We'll see, because we're on Romanticide. We were talking about it earlier. Like, this is a pretty good map to just kind of force that late game scenario, split the map.
Zest is gonna go for Stargate again. Zest is gonna go for carriers again, isn't he? Triple 100%. Stargate.
Like there's no reason to go Twilight Council here, right? Like Zest wants to be in that situation, in that late game scenario with his Sky Toss.
And it is pretty dang effective. You just really have to make sure that the Zerg player, on the other hand, doesn't tech up really hard to Hydra and Fester.
Exactly. Like, I'm sure you remember this, but Zest versus Rogue on Romanticide, it did not go in Zest's favor. If you recall, Rogue did an immaculate job at just containing Zest to 3 bases. Zest could not expand and take his 4th. Whenever he tried, like, there was just a big attack, a big run by, and Rogue would punish him every single time.
Yeah, he didn't even have enough to counterattack with those. I think it took him a while to be maxed out in Sky Toss.
I don't think he even got there. Like, Rogue had his way with Zest on this map. On the flip side, though, Stats was beautiful on this map. Stats, he was focusing a lot more on the defense. He was able to expand, and if you recall, Stats just kind of pushed across the map and just ended it.
He maxed... I do recall the end of that game. Stats maxed out on Sky Toss in a bit of a ground army. Rogue, he pushed, he did so much damage. I think he killed like 2, maybe even 3 bases.
Yeah.
Stats said, you know what? You wasted all your banelings.
Yeah.
Let's go! And he won.
It was one of those things where we thought Rogue had won because he had dealt so much damage, but Stats had kept all of his carries alive, and he just goes for the counterattack, and Rogue, he needed a little bit more time to remax because he spent so much army, and he had this massive bank, he had all these bases, like, Rogue had it, but he just wasn't ready for the counterattack, and Stats won the series in the end. We'll see if Zest was inspired. We'll see what he goes for, as he did open up with a Stargate opening.
On the flip side of that, we'll see if Solar decides to channel his inner Rogue, or if he'd rather play a little bit more like Dark on this map.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what Solar opts to go for, as no surprise, second Stargate on the way for Zest.
There we go. I was hoping I'd be surprised, but nope. Alright, trying to micro as best he can. That Oracle is starting to get a little low.
Yeah, has to be careful.
Just sticking with the single Oracle for the time being. What's interesting with Zest is that in previous weeklies, he's shown us a interesting style of Stargate where he actually moved in with his Void Ray as well as his Oracle. It's kind of the idea of having the Void Ray tank and having the Oracle, take out a couple of units here and there, but so far from what we've seen tonight, Zest is just moving only with his Oracle.
Oh yeah. He's still banking up those Void Rays. What's important to note is that Solar has not scouted the main base of Zest at all. Zest hasn't revealed his Void Rays. Now he has with 2 Void Rays. If you're Solar, you have to know it's a double Stargate opening.
Without a doubt. Let's see how he goes from here. Does he immediately jump into his Hydras, or does he try what he did on Pillars of Gold? Does he try to go for a quick Nidus? I feel like that's harder on Romanticide.
We'll see. Like, he has a decent amount of queens. The lair just finished up, but here we go. Hydrogen is on the way. He is not looking to try to go for an all-in. And I don't blame him. It didn't work in game 1.
Oh yeah, playing this out a lot more standard. And we'll see if he's going to be able to, keep Zest contained, or if he decides, you know what, I'll make Hydras, but I'll make Hydras for a timing attack. We have seen quite a number of Zerg players when faced with this Void Ray style, they go straight Mutiling Bane. Or not Mutiling Bane, sorry, Hydraling Bane. Then they work on their 2-2, and there we go. Then they push out.
Yeah. We do see these timings. Sometimes you go for a big timing attack. Sometimes you mix in a couple of Infestors in the timing attack as well for that Microbial Shroud. We'll see if Solar opts to go for that, or if he just macros up and gets ready for the late game. I do like how forward he is with these queens, because so often we see the Protoss player go with these Void Rays and just snipe and kill the 4th. It can be so frustrating when that happens. But oh my god, he doesn't realize.
That's a stasis ward. Okay, only gets 5. Could have been way worse than it was.
Mate, Solar, he is opting to go for the timing attack. Mate, we got a Nidus on the way.
Huh. All right, gonna be more of an reinforcing Nidus here. So we're opting more for the range upgrade rather than the Hydro speed. These Void Rays are sharking around, having a little bit of a reversal of game number 1.
Yeah, he wants that fourth. He, like, so often we see the fourth just go down for free, but Solar is in position, and I haven't seen this before. Like, a Nidus, like, a big, like, Hydra Queen timing attack could work. Instead, I've seen, like, these Hydra, like, +2 timings, or even, like, Hydra Infestor. We'll see if Solar's able to do so, because the Nidus will finish.
Yeah, and the big question is, where is Zest's army? All of his Void Rays are over here. Will be able to take out the third base, but might be forced to, recall fairly soon. That's a lot of Hydras.
Yeah, the thing is, like, Solar doesn't care about that base. Like, he's all in. Like, he's looking to end the game with this army. We have Hydra range already done as well. No +1, though. It is just, like, these upgradeless, evo-less units.
And after quick little recall, Zest is going to be able to defend this quite a bit better. But he does have to be careful. Hydras, they trait pretty well against Void Rays.
Exactly. He's forced to pull the boys, forced to utilize that overcharge, but overcharge is about to run out.
Just like so. And Solar, he's still got a couple of transfuses on him.
Yeah, it looks like the last transfuse was used, but there are more Hydras trickling in. But again, a lot of the Hydras are falling to those charge lots. Zest, his army movement is so good, keeping the majority of his Void Rays alive, pulling back.
And honestly, I think there is no other way to describe it than trickling in. A lot of these Hydras just getting picked off when they're so exposed, far away from Queen support. Just looking right for the picking.
Only one Void Ray has fallen. It looks like a second Void Ray. Not even. Okay, there we go. The second Void Ray does fall, but like it's too much. Like Zest, his defense.
This is game number 1 all over again.
It is. Like it doesn't even matter. Solar, he keeps trying to end the game early, but he just can't.
GG is called. Zest gonna be going to match point 2-1. That was honestly brilliant. At least the plan was coming up from Solar. The execution, though, could leave a bit to be desired for. Or I guess that's also why you don't push in without upgrades.
Yeah, like he was just relying on his Hydra upgrades there, and like to be fair, like his transfuses were on point. Like he was attacking with the majority of his Hydras. Like he had this massive arc, but again, Zest, like he's so careful with his Void Rays. Like he never really commits to a big fight without shield batteries. Like he like if a shield battery runs out, he just backs off. He pivots around. He rotates to the south. He keeps warping in those zealots. Charge finished up just in time. He even pulled a couple of probes as well, and like the defense was beautiful.
Are we gonna see Zest fumble the defense now in game number 4?
All right, now it's time for Zest to go for a big 2-base all-in and throw the game, and then we'll go to the ace match.
Here's our Solar 12 pools, and Zest decides to be uber greedy for some reason.
It's possible. Like we've seen Zest lose to big Ling Bane busts, like to Rogue. It happened last week.
It did, funnily enough. I remember that.
Was it on this map as well? Was it on Oxide?
No, it was on Jagannatha.
Okay. It was on Jagannatha.
To my memory, at least.
Zest he already lost the game on Jagannatha, but we are here. We are going to be getting ready to load into Oxide, as one of the players did ask for a small break. I mean, I don't blame them. You know, Solar, Zest is on match point. He just needs one more win to close out the series and go straight into the finals.
That he does. Going to be facing a Protoss player over there, so, in some PvP, potentially.
Exactly.
Not
everyone
turn this around.
Everyone in the chat, give your energy to Solar if you want to stop, if you want to deny that PvP finals. Otherwise, give it up for Zest, because regardless, the finals will involve at least one Protoss player.
But potentially, too.
Potentially.
See, I can count. And speaking of counting, we are now here on game number 3 in number 4 in this best of 5 series. We are here on Oxide, breathing heavy here in the bottom left-hand corner map, starting all the way in the bottom left-hand corner. The Red Zug player coming down from South Korea. He is going to be representing KZ Gaming, KZG. We have Solar.
Kura needs to clip that. You're like, see, I can count. Game number 3. God damn it. But we are here. We are in this game 4 between these two players, spawning in the top right hand corner of Oxide LE. He only needs one more win in this series to advance to the finals. He is representing Raise Your Edge Gaming, RYEG. It is Zest.
Man, what is with mice and scroll wheels?
I know, right? I went for the zoom in, but I was like, I had zoomed out apparently, and I was not. Yeah. God damn it.
It's weird. Good old mice.
Yeah. I mean, for those wondering, if you zoom out like this, scroll wheel does nothing, so you cannot zoom in. Which is
that's.
Yeah.
I feel like that's because they thought, okay, what if they tried to zoom out even further? So they just locked the entire scroll feature.
God damn it.
That wouldn't put it past them.
But we're here. We are in game number 4. Already Zest forcing Solar to take the unnatural natural. And as you said, now that Zest, he won a game, do you think he goes for a Twilight Council opener here?
On Oxide, it's possible. Seeing that some, very sharp timings on Oxide with those glaives can definitely do a lot, especially if he goes for a bit of a multi-prong. Definitely the third base and the main base are very far apart from one another.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I feel like, a traditional, if he went for Twilight Council, and as you see, he's not, he's going for the Stargate, but I'm sort of theorizing here. If the Protoss player does go for the Glaive Adept build, I feel like doing it traditionally wouldn't really work, because it takes a while for the shades to go back and forth. You would have to do a bit of multi-prong stat style, where you get a couple into the main and draw the army out there, and then you shade into the third base with the rest of your adepts.
Yeah, it's also one of those things where, like, I'm sure, like, in a previous life or a couple of months ago, Zest would have gone for something like that, but because his Stargate play he's so comfortable with it, because he's so good with it, like, why not just, do what you're good at? Whenever you try to divert, you lose, when he went on Jagannatha for that big Zealot all-in, so, okay, he's calming down, he's going for his Stargate, opening up with his Void Ray.
For all we know, it was another life. I mean, he was kind of gone for a couple of those months. He was still playing in like GSL and stuff, but
yeah, he wasn't anywhere near as he wasn't Zest's best, if you will. But now, towards the end of 2020, he's really coming into form. He's really showing off, why he earned that nickname, that mantra in the past. And we'll see what he decides to do here on Oxide, as so far, one Stargate. We'll see if he throws down another or goes for a Twilight.
Yeah, and Twilight opening, we kind of theorized that it wouldn't quite work out on Oxide, but as a tech follow-up, I'm liking it quite a bit, especially if he does opt to go for a more storm-heavy style. But he is going for that double Stargate.
He's just doing Zest things. There we go. Yeah. We have that second Stargate on the way once again from Zest. And now our eyes turn to Solar. Solar, he has encountered this build twice already this series. Every single time he encounters it, he goes for a timing attack. He wants to end the game early, and he just can't. He can't do it. Does he try again? Or does he embrace the end game? And does he just try and go toe-to-toe with a Skytoss army?
I'd say he doesn't go into the end game.
We already got a lair. On the way, like, oh boy.
Yeah, if Solar wants to hit a timing, he is going to be hitting fast and hard. But that's kind of a big if.
Yeah, we'll see, as I think Solar may have caught a glimpse of 2 Void Rays with his Lings. I'm not 100% sure. He hasn't gone into the main quite yet. Oh.
Bit of lag going on there, and I immediately jumped to blame Zest. It might not have been Zest.
You confused me because you said stats. I think you said that.
I don't think I said stats.
Okay.
I might have.
All right, we're good. And ooh, this is interesting. So off of the double Stargate opening, okay, there we go. We already have Charge getting ready for Zest. Meanwhile, Solar, okay, I was concerned because he started off with a Roach Warren, so I thought he was going to go for a big Roach timing. No, he is still going for the Hydra Den.
This time with +1. But it's also important to keep in mind how Zest diverted from this build as well. He's not, investing too much into the Void Rays, and now Solar gets to see that. Getting charged, that's exactly what he wanted against the Hydras. Throwing a couple of key well-placed Storms or Archons, and they can completely shut that down.
Definitely. Meanwhile, we do see the infestation pit on the way for Solar. So we'll see. We have seen this in the past. Some Zerg players, they go for an early infestation pit. They go for a big timing with Hydras and Microbial Shroud. We'll see if Solar decides to go for something like that. He may be forced to. Oh god, he's gonna lose the fourth. Will he?
Oh god. Will he? The Queens are here.
Yes.
Queen Hussars have come in. Enough time for the Hydras, but there's just too much damage from 5 Void Rays. So they're forced to get a delay.
Exactly. He loses 2 Overlords and is forced to delay, forced to cancel his 4th hatchery. And there we go. Oh my god. Okay, never mind. He's opting not to go for Infestors. He's embracing the late game. We got a Hive and Lurkers on the way.
From Solar? Well, I guess Hydra Lurker is something that Solar does like quite a bit, but yeah, it just caught me a little off guard that he is opting for the Hive. We'll see if he goes even further into the late game, though, or if he's just using it for his Lurker upgrades and his 3-3.
Yeah, Hydra Lurker Viper can do well, if controlled correctly. The thing that I'm worried about is that Solar has been avoiding this playstyle this entire series, so I don't know how confident he is. I don't know if this is like a last resort. He's like, okay, I have to go for this. Like my timing attacks just aren't working.
Or what if it's his forbidden move?
Oh,
it's only allowed to use it once in a series.
Yeah, it could be his final technique that he's going to reveal and just trounce Zest. It's possible that he's been hiding this in preparation for the final Zerg in the finals. Oh god.
Templar Sword Expose! Templar live for now.
Oh, they do just barely live. And meanwhile, there we go. We have Lurker range on the way. We got the Vipers on the way as well. Meanwhile, Solar is not the only one getting ready for that late game composition. Zest himself does have the Fleet Beacon on the way.
And he says, and that's really Zest saying, you want to play late game? Come at me. Oh, it does have Hydra speed? No, Warp Prism speed. Solar does have Hydra speed.
That he does, with the Warp Prism just barely escaping, getting into that dead area of the map. To be fair, Vipers are coming out, so he should be able to yoink that and deal with that regardless.
Oh, imagine a Parabomb on it, though.
I think
massive BM move.
I think that may
hilarious, though.
That may lose him the game, eh? That's a lot of energy.
But you know what? It'd be hilarious.
It would. And okay, here we go. Carriers are on the way. Zest has to be careful. You know, he is trying to deny the creep as best he can without really committing with his main army.
Yeah, trying to get whatever damage done, but with all the static defenses, not gonna be a lot. Is there an observer with this army? I don't believe there is. There is.
Oof, yeah, so he is able to
behind the Void Race.
He is stemming the tide. He's trying to delay the creep as best he can. Meanwhile, that War Prism was yoinked. It was dealt with. No power bomb.
Yeah, I got
all right, and
somehow I was able to make it away though. Whoa, hold up. Hit Shift L real quick.
Oh my god.
Zest has lost literally nothing this game so far.
Oh my god.
To be fair, it's been a bit of a more quiet, a bit of a more passive game, but still, 10 minutes in, Zest with 0 losses. It's gonna be the first! Sally goes down! That's the first loss, but not the last.
Yeah, the War Prism does go down as well, so this harassment does get shut down. And meanwhile, Solar, I love this. He is getting all his upgrades, Adrenal Glands, only just now working on 1-1 on his ground, but he's already working on his Spire Tech as well, so he's getting ready for that late game. I was about to say the only thing he's missing is the Spore Forest, but he's already working on that as well, so he realizes how this game is going to turn out. He knows that he can't really push across the map and end the game. He has to wait for Zest to push into him, to push into those spores, and he's going to be ready when he does.
So patient right now. Zest, though, still waiting for his minus 400. So it is going to be a little bit of time before he pushes in. Solar has much more time to build up that Spore Forest. And actually, got a question for you here, Light. What's your opinion on if Solar were to get some Infestors here? Dead supply or potentially more
I think the time for infestors have come and gone. Like there are plenty of High Templar for feedbacks and for storms. I feel like
that's true.
Yeah, they do well to support Hydras, but as we see with the double Spire, like you want to get Corruptors out.
Yeah, you really can't rely on this Hydra tech unless your name is Rogue. Well, unless you really commit to the Hydra tech, I guess.
Yeah, and we see Solar, he already has 1-1, he has 12 Corruptors on the way. These Lurkers are invaluable to help zone away the ground army, to help zone out those High Templar.
And doing such a good job that Zest, he's being zoned out all the way back to his own base.
He is, but he cleared a lot of creep. He's doing a pretty good job of that.
Oh my. Yeah, that's a lot of dead tumors. Alright, but I guess this is a bit of a difference between, a map like Romanticide and a map like Oxide. This time Zest, he is working on his 5th base. Should be able to defend that nice and well.
That's the scary thing. Unlike Rogue, Solar hasn't been able to contain Zest to certain bases. He hasn't been able to really stem the Protoss economy. Zest has been free to expand, and that's scary. That's terrifying. We're getting to the point where he's got plenty of Stargates to remax after a big fight. He's got the -400. He's got his upgrades going. Like, Solar has been almost too passive. We'll see if it's gonna bite him. As Zest, he's starting to push out. He's maxed out.
Indeed he is. Does not even need the 400 come in here. That's a lot of Corruptors coming out from Solar. Zest does need to be careful. Doesn't have too much AoE. Only has these storms that aren't quite in position. So setting up a bit of flank.
Yeah, exactly. Solar has to be so careful. We have the dance of the Viper and the High Templar. Who can get on top of who first? Meanwhile, Solar going for a big run by.
Hydra run by, that is not something you see every day.
Oh, that's expensive.
It is very expensive, but that's why I guess you do see it quite often in these late game scenarios. Well, not that often, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. We've gotten to the point where Solar is refining his army. He wants to get rid of all these Hydras that are useless to him now. He's committing to the Corruptors, and we have a Great Aspire as well.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, Zest just forced to make a couple of Zealots. Sure, he can use them for a run by here and there, but that's not really going to help him out too much in these main army engagements.
Yeah, definitely. It's all going to be about that anti-air. It's all going to be about the battle in the skies, and Zest isn't fully prepared for that. He only has a couple of Void Rays to support his carriers. Like, if a decent amount of... if all these Corruptors just dive in, they can start one-shotting all these carriers, and there's nothing to stop them.
And they are looking to do so. Whatever happened to that mothership?
Did it die?
Oh, it's making its way. No, it's making its way down in the bottom right.
It's trying to sneak.
Get seen though.
Ooh, it does get seen. Meanwhile, another Ling Lurker run by to the right-hand side. Again, Solar, he wants to get rid of all this supply and get as much value as he can with it.
And Zest forced to recall the entire army back into the space. He knows he can't afford to give it up. Let's try to keep whatever he can alive by making them invisible. Army is split. Army is split right now, Light.
Ooh, the army is split at the moment, and again, Solar just lost a bunch of supply as well. Meanwhile, Solar, he is investing in those infestors. He did just finish up Neural Parasite as well, so he can go for those mind controls, for those neurals.
But most importantly, Microbial Shroud. It's not even a joke anymore.
It is here because there's nothing for the Microbial Shroud to really help with.
Hydras, I forgot about that.
But Fungals, they can do well as well.
Corruptors. They definitely can, and I mean, Corruptors, they really do need to dive right on top of the main carrier army.
Oh god.
And you can't really do that without those Fungals.
Definitely. Meanwhile, all those spores are forced to lift up and unburrow. Meanwhile, a bit of a Zealot run by goes all the way into the main base.
Huh. Alright.
Oh. They want that Great Aspire.
Solar does not want to give up. Yeah, Solar does not want to give up too much of his army to come back and deal with this. So they're going to be focusing on utilizing Queens. I do like this from Solar. He very quickly made a bunch of Brute Lords. Something to keep those High Templar back.
Yeah, it's, it's how the Zerg army has evolved over time. Long past, the Hydras were replaced with Corruptors, the Lurkers have been replaced by Brood Lords as well, but Zest has done such a good job at just denying all this creep. Solar, his Spore Forest isn't really coming into play, and that's desperately what the creep is for, so he can just push on forward with that anti-air.
Yeah, it's more like a Spore Park at this point. Or one of those forests you see in Singapore. quote-unquote forest.
I mean, Singapore is the cyber forest.
Oh yeah. Cyberpunk.
Let's not bring that up. Meanwhile,
a lot of Immortals starting to get not taken out. They do live up to the name. It's a lot of DPS when you got 4 of them like that.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
and that's pretty much
they're living up to the name. I'm sure Zest just wants to get rid of them. He's like,
I mean, they clear creep pretty good.
Yeah. They're surprisingly they're able to clear a lot of creep. You know, maybe even chip it away at some of the stacked defense. As they move on forward, they're going to get surrounded. They should be dealt with, but again, they will be replaced by these greater tier units.
You know what's the funny thing is that there's actually not much that can deal with this. Solar only has a handful of Brute Lords, and they are far away from there.
Exactly. 28.
I love it.
He makes 28 lings as well to help deal with this.
They all go down.
Zest is like, why don't you die? Just, I don't want you anymore.
And he's basically sending these immortals into a mission that has a 5% chance of survivability, and yet they live.
Shout out to Milk, playing Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I saw him in the chat.
Oh god, and we're here. We're in this late game scenario. Again, both players are just refining their armies. We'll still have 3-3-3-3 on the way for Solar, all the +3s. Meanwhile, we also have the air attack upgrades come on the way for Zest. Once all these upgrades kick in, I'm sure they're going to be looking to really engage each other. More likely, Zest pushing into Solar. Again, Solar, he's relying on his creep and his spores to really move with his army.
We're getting to that stage of the late game, aren't we, Light? Where we're getting a little bit of army chicken. It is going to come down to just DQing his, or disconnecting.
something that Zest is missing that we saw from Sats, and we have seen from Trap and Zest as well in the past. Where are his reinforcing shield batteries? Like, typically we see, like, just like how these spores are moving forward, we see like a bunch of cannons and shield batteries like on the edges of the creep, so you have that available to support the Sky Toss.
Yeah, Zest, I think, he had an idea to go into that a little bit earlier on. That's where we see a couple of pylons here on the map, but yeah, he's not leapfrogging them like you normally want to as the Protest player. Recalls right on top of the Spore Forest. Is that the best idea, Light?
Oh god, Solar, he wasn't too far behind, but he doesn't engage the Brood Lords and the Infestors a little bit out of position.
Decent fungal, mostly just getting these Haluk Phoenixes though. Trying to recall whatever he can, reveal whatever he can, just so he has eyes on that army. And now what's next for Zest? I feel like he's kind of pinned himself into a corner here.
Yeah, a little bit. He has to be careful, you know. Again, he was able to clear out all the stack defense, so again, a much weaker position for Solar, but now Solar is here with his Infestors and his Vipers.
That's a yoink and a half if I've ever seen one.
The High Templar!
The High Templar are so exposed. Brute Lords or Brutelings do get chased away. It is so hard to split the Parabomb here when the units that carry us are that slow. Gets a lot of feedbacks, but that is far from all of the Infestors. Beautiful fungal. Is this how Zest loses his army?
We'll see. The Void Rays, they were in the back. They're coming in to deal with the Corruptors. They were waiting for the Corruptors to dive in, waiting for the opportune moments. And now it's just Corruptors and Brood Lords. All the Infestors, there's only one left, and all the Vipers were taken out.
And I feel like Zest has just enough to push through here, but will be forced back once these spores do manage to reburrow. A lot of Void Rays are coming in on the way right now. Not too many Infestors that actually have energy at this point.
Yeah, and it looks like there are just enough Corruptors to ignore the Void Rays. They were able to take out some of these carriers, and now Zest is forced back to his stack defense.
Chronoing out as many Void Rays as he can right now, making 6 of them at a time, and is trying to get a couple of these High Templars as well, just to get some energy, just to get some sort of AoE.
Yeah, and that's the weakness of the Protoss army. We see Solar immediately remaxing Zest. He needs a little bit more time to get there. And again, like, I'm surprised that there aren't these forward positions with these shield batteries, with these pylons, with these cannons. Zest is forced all the way back to his fifth even.
And again, just not the best position here. that the Protoss player wants to be fighting at. Very backed into a corner.
Yeah, Decent Storms is able to take out one of these Broodlords, but again, the High Templar, they're so
coming
forward.
in. And they do get fungled just like so, along with a bunch of these carriers. Immediate yoinks. Feedbacks are not fast enough. Decent Storm again, but not enough whatsoever. Good Parabomb, but there are a lot of Void Rays coming in here. Do get fungled. Makes it hard to split. Seems like there's a run by going on somewhere.
There is a bit of a Zella run by trying to get somewhere, but what's important is that all the High Templar went down. After that happened, there's nothing to really support the Void Rays. Finally, the Mothership does come in.
Seeing whatever it can get done. No Viper here with this army, so can't really get yoinked. But still has to be careful. That's a lot of high energy infestors. Zest is still fighting back. He's still kind of in this. Just dive right on top of the Mothership. Forces a recall here. Once Zest realizes he cannot fight all those fungals.
Exactly. Just so many Corruptors, so many fungals available, like, without any High Templar to feedback, without Storms, like, it's so difficult for the Void Rays and the Carriers to really contend with this. And sure, Zest did go for a run by, he did kill a hatchery, but was this base really worth it? Like, it only had one gas remaining. Like, this is kind of negligible losses for Solar.
Well, there's still quite a number of Zealots over there trying to get some damage done. And they should be able to fight it. There's not too much here reinforcing for Solar. Zest wants to avoid an army fight right now. In fact, pulling back the entire air army with his Void Race.
Yeah, I like
What's
this.
important is he doesn't have a recall.
Yeah, this is really good from Zest. Like, he cannot fight that main army, as you said. He is forced to go across the map, and he's able to snipe 2 hatcheries. Nicely done. As you said, there is no recall, though, so he has to be careful not to be caught out by those Corruptors.
Needs to do a dip and a dive. He needs to go straight through the Corruptors to survive. Nope, not possible.
Oh, yeah, it's forced to fight.
Once again, yeah, Void's trying to figure out what they can get done as much as possible. Zest wants to fight in the open, in this dead air, where the Infestors cannot support the Corruptors. Trying to come into a flank! Zest has so many Void Rays, the Infestors are in retreat!
Oh, the Infestors, they were not in position to help Fungal and stop these Void Rays. The only thing really missing for Zest is a way to deal with those Infestors. If he can, like, he has such a high Void Ray counter and not enough Corruptors to deal with this.
Now, would you consider DTs to be a way to deal with that?
Sure, maybe.
If the Brute Lords don't get him first.
We'll see. I mean, Zest has been neglecting things like Tempest as well. Tempest, they do outrange a lot of these units. They do zone out quite well. Instead, Zest is relying on nothing but Void Rays, and I don't know if that's the right call.
Yeah, not the most comfortable position here for Zest. Trying to get whatever he can with prismatic alignment. So many fungals being thrown down. But the Vipers don't have energy, so not much AoE here. But still, the fungals, they're weakening the Void Rays quite a bit. Zest coming in with a flank. Infestors starting to really go down. But they are buying time. They are tanking damage for these Corruptors. Has Solar just about done it?
Exactly. The fungals were amazing. They covered the entirety of the Void Ray army. GG gets called.
Solar bringing this to the ace match. Seems like in a quick little update here, Stats is gonna have to wait a little while for that grand final.
Oh yes, congratulations. Stats does win 3-1 over Trap. He will be the Protoss player waiting in the finals. And as you said, he'll have to wait for at least one more game because we are getting into an ace match.
Indeed we are. And man, I'm getting them 2016 vibes light. It was actually before I started following competitive StarCraft. Well, I started with Bjorn.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, Solar, really well done, really patient play. I just love the way that he was able to control. It's so difficult to control all those units, to control the Infestors and the Vipers on top of your main army. And oh my god, look at what map 5 is gonna be. This was not vetoed, and I feel like this is gonna favor Solar.
They picked Submarine over... Okay, we played Political, we played Oxide, we played Juggernaut, we played Romanticide. Lightshade, and Death Aura. Huh. I guess they're just bored.
Interesting.
Of those maps.
I mean, to be fair, when it comes to submarine, this is what I love about the Korean scene. They do not shy away from it. We see players pick submarine so much more often in this event than we do in any other, like any of our weeklies where vetoes are allowed. So yeah, they're not afraid. They're willing to show up on this map, and we'll see what Zest has in store for us, because again, he didn't shy away from this. Even though the rush distance is short and it doesn't really favor that sky toss, like defending to get into that late game, he may have something else in store for us. We may see some Glaive Adepts.
I just want to see Solar 12 pool.
He could. He definitely could.
Yeah, always has the opportunity here on submarine, especially because Zest generally, I mean, we see he does go pretty greedy. He sort of neglects placing his wall. And submarine, I mean, it's not quite. It's still got a bit of a narrow choke, but still, it's not quite Def Aura, where you only need two. We only need 2 buildings.
Yeah, exactly. So this is gonna be such an interesting game because, again, this is the smallest map in the map pool. Submarine is, so it will favor Solar's aggression, but Zest has to know that. So we'll see. Like, maybe Zest is going to be the aggressive player this game. Like, there's an opportunity here, and again, like, this is something that Zest has a history with. Like, that used to be his thing. He used to be the aggressive Protoss.
You know what? It's confirmed. Zest can rush.
Look, Zest isn't partying. Okay, let's not go crazy here.
Sometimes you need a little bit of that in order to break Solar.
Sometimes. And thank you so much, Size Matters, for joining us. It does seem like he is going to dip out for now. Again, it is getting quite late in the southern hemisphere, as he does hail from...
It's 8 p.m.
Yeah, man, mate, some people go to work in the morning.
I feel called out.
Oh god, but here we go. We are getting into the final game, the final semifinals match, the ace match in this best of 5.
And who is gonna take it? Who is gonna be challenging Stats in that grand finals? Is it gonna be the Reds coming out in the bottom right-hand corner map, spawning all the way in the bottom right-hand corner of Submarine, LE Submarine, of which we all live in, but some of us thrive in the LE Submarine. Representing KaiZ Gaming, KZG, we have Solar.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Submarine LE, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the Blue Protoss, representing Raise Your Edge Gaming, RYEG. It is Zest.
I'm already disappointed.
We do not see an early pull coming out from Solar. We see a hatch first at the 3rd base location.
Yeah, again, Solar not one. Well, as far as he can get away with it, he'd rather play reactive rather than, you know, being active with how he decides to play this out.
It's one of those things where I feel like it's too obvious to go for a pull first, right? On this map, you would expect that Zest is expecting something like that and prepared for something like that, so you don't want to risk putting yourself behind if you're Solar.
Oh, without a doubt. Such as it seemed like Zest was, you know, being greedy this series. I mean, can you really say that if he hadn't sent the probe up into the main, and can you really say that Zest wouldn't be preparing for 12 pool if he scouted it? And he did scout it.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
Not a 12 pool, but he scouted Solar, so what I mean.
Yeah, he would have. He did go for a worker scout, and we'll see if Solar is going to go back to his ways. Again, in this series, Solar, for the longest time, he just kept going for these timing attacks. He tried to end the game early, and it just didn't work for him. But on a map like Submarine, like, that playstyle is amplified that much more. So maybe it'll give him that boost. Or we'll see if he even needs it. Okay, we do have a Stargate opening. Okay.
I mean, we shouldn't really be surprised here.
I guess not. I'm surprised.
I still am somehow.
Yeah, he's sticking with this. Opting not to go for a Twilight Council. He is going for the Stargate. To be fair, he can switch things up. You don't have to go double Stargate from this. You can throw down a Twilight Council after this. That's one of the advantages you have with this opener, is you deny all the scouting and then you go for something hidden. We'll see what that's going to be for Zest.
It's going to be a Dark Shrine, as I try to subliminally influence Zest here. You know you want it.
This isn't an Armani situation. Unfortunately, we don't know if Zest like lives with someone, so we can like call up like Juanito or like Innovation or someone nearby to like head on over and like try and influence him in some way.
If only.
If only.
Yeah, I like what you said about the Stargate. It's very much a versatile. It's very much a versatile opening. So he is not dedicating himself to tech just yet. Is getting a second Void Ray though.
And I feel like that's already a tell that he does want to go double Stargate. We'll see. We'll see. Again, he did start that second Void Ray in vision of that Overlord, so it could be, you know, to try and slack his opponent out. It's hard to say. We'll see what he spends his resources on, as he is opting to go for that third.
Yeah, a little bit quicker than previous games, it seems.
Third, mate, why?
They change when it works.
Exactly, there it is. Double Stargate. This is Zest's bread and butter. He's opting not to divert his build. He's still continuing to go for it. I'm just a little bit concerned. I don't know how well this is going to work out on Submarine.
The answer is, I mean, there's always possibilities. There's definitely quite a bit of dead air that Zest can take advantage of here, utilizing his Void Rays. But again, it does kind of come down to the fact that Submarine has a lot of these flanking opportunities here. There's a lot of ways for Solar to just maneuver around the map, and that's not even getting to the size of it.
Exactly, and because this map is so much smaller, like a ground army can go across the map that much faster. It can hit harder as well. Reinforcements do go across the map and come into play a lot quicker. So we'll see what Solar decides to go for, as he is going for that lair. He is, I believe he did finish up his Roach Warren.
All right, another time attack on our hands here.
We'll see. It looks
possible, but there's a Hydra then.
Yeah, it looks like a safety Roach Warren. Since he didn't go in for a secondary scout, he was unaware if a Twilight Council was thrown down or not. But he is, playing this out pretty standard, still going for that Hydra den.
Yeah, just waiting to see what he really needs to decide on when it comes to his tech. So it's continuing to pump out more and more and more of these Void Rays. And it is harder to sort of stem the creep on a map like Submarine.
Yeah, definitely. It can be. Again, you don't need that much creep to go across the map. As Solar is expanding, getting his fourth base, there's still plenty of Void Rays out. We'll see if Zest is going to be able to utilize them to kill that fourth, as we've seen, or delay that fourth, as we've seen time and time again, or if Solar's going to be able to be ready in time and have enough anti-air to protect it.
Well, his anti-air is not quite in position yet, but on the flip side, Zest, unaware that that fourth base is currently being taken, now starting to maneuver around. He has the amount of Void Rays that he needs.
Oh, yeah.
He has, 6 of them, actually. 7th one coming in.
Yeah, we've got all the Void Rays that you need. He's going to be pushing out here, looking to try and engage the army. He does see the Hydras, so he does back off.
Yeah, doesn't really want to tangle with that. At least not unless he can get some dead air to utilize. So setting up his points of entry when it comes time to push into Zest.
Yeah, a couple of Hydras are picked off. Zest utilizing the terrain to his advantage. It's a little bit difficult for these Hydras to really engage with these Void Rays, as Zest is sharking around. As you said before, he's unaware where the fourth is. He's currently checking, and he sees there is no hatchery here.
He's going to be checking that other location eventually. It is generally more common, though, that the Zerg player expands towards the bottom player, rather, expands towards the north. So Zest, he might just be thinking, maybe he's going 3 base. He would definitely check, though.
Yeah, he should check. It looks like he's trying to get some damage, almost gets the gas, but the transfuses are on point. And Zest does back off in the end, and yeah, both players are transitioning. We've got High Templar, we've got Storm on the way for Zest. Meanwhile, the Lurker Den just finished up for Solar.
And once again, we're reaching that point where Solar's been able to stem Zest away for long enough that he's just sitting comfy. He's just waiting to, max out as quickly as he can. Try to push across the map. Eventually, be getting that Spire again. But for now, just focusing more on them Hydras.
Yeah, Hydra Lurker Viper is the play at the moment for Solar, and the creep spread, it's already more than halfway across the map. It's getting closer and closer to the bases of Zest, and this is going to help so much when it comes to the big push that Solar's going to be going for. Even going to be incorporating these queens again, because the map is so short, they can come into play.
Yeah, it's a lot less of a risk once you have all this creep up. And as you said, Submarine, that's all you really need. That's all the creep you really need.
Exactly.
Alright, so starting to push in right now.
Well, he is pushing in. The Hydras do meet up with the main army. The Lurkers are a little bit behind.
Well, that's some pretty nice force fields coming in over here. And it does funnel all of these units into some brilliant storms. Lurkers coming in for the flank. No, not quite able to burrow in time. Zest is able to make it out of there.
Oh, he is. Meanwhile, there is a bit of a Zealot run by in the natural of Solar. At the same time, Zest is getting ready to push into the fourth base as well. Zest all over the place.
Yeah, he's split his army up just about as much as he needs to. Solar really has to, commit to one place or another.
Yeah, Zest has to be careful. He is deep on creep, mate. he needs to calm down.
Oh, he is waist deep in creep right now. No observer, no detection to really take us out. Beautiful parasitic bombs!
Oh.
Zest scrambling for a split, but not quite getting it. Good force fields. Enough to keep these Void Rays alive at the very least.
Oh, yeah, but the majority of the Void Rays have fallen. Only 4 remaining. Meanwhile, all the Zealots, they run into the Lurkers.
The last thing you want to happen as a Protoss player. Nice reveal.
Yeah.
And Zest, he's got a lot of Zealots on the way. This is everything he needs to deal with the Hydras.
Yeah, and what's important, every single Lurker just died. They went for a flank, but it was them that got flanked. Like, the Uno reverse card was used. The Zealots got on top of all of them, taking them all out. Now it's just naked Hydras. More Lurkers are desperately being morphed in.
You know what's the feels bad like? Seismic Signs just finished here for Solar. Could have made a bit of a difference.
Yeah,
or not the talents rather.
Made
a bit of a difference.
Definitely, the anti-timing there, he would have been able to evacuate and escape that position a little bit faster. And meanwhile, we have plenty of Zealots here to defend the fourth base. Once again, Zest looking to shark around to try and dive in once again, forcing Solar to really not commit to this fourth. He's close enough anyway.
Submarine, everyone. That's once again moving in for this flank, trying to get a reveal on these Lurkers, but the Hydras are enough to chase them away.
Oh, they are enough for now. It looks like the Zealots are just going straight into the third base location. Solar a little bit out of position, forced to move his entire army.
But it seems adequate enough. This isn't the entire army from Zest, so he doesn't want to fight the entire army. Solar right now just running around with these Zealots, trying to see if he can pick off any key tech or get any worker damage done.
Yeah, it looks like he'll at least get a queen here. You say this wasn't the entire army? Like, Zest doesn't have that much supply.
He doesn't.
Those Zealots are actually his main army to support the High Templar and the Archons. Like, he's going charged with Archon right now. He switched things up completely. We'll see if it works out for him. Like, again, the Hydras aren't ideal because there aren't that many Void Rays, but the ground army is still strong here for Solar.
It is super strong right now for Solar. He is maxed out. Way ahead in the army supply. That's some Storm Soda he's eaten to the face. And really nice feedbacks on top of those Vipers.
Exactly, the Vipers have no energy whatsoever, but it looks like there's only enough energy for one more Storm. Not even. Zest forced to evacuate his fourth.
And it looks like we are going to be getting a PvZ finals unless Zest can pull a miracle out from here.
Oh my
Solar's
god.
just everywhere at once right now.
Exactly, Zest just doesn't have enough. He's forced to turn all his High Templar into Archons. There's just so much on the ground. Zest, he's going to be cleaned up.
GG is called. Solar very narrowly takes it and will be facing Stats in that grand finals.
GG, well played. Solar is able to bring it back and does take that series against Stats 3-2, as he said, narrowly, and advances on for another ZVP.
He's all warmed up now.
He's all warmed up, but you know what? Stats, I'm sure he was just chilling and just tuning into that series, and he may be thinking to himself, all right, I'm gonna veto Submarine.
Yeah, might be looking at that series and just thinking, all right, time to show Zest how it's done.
It's what happened last time when Zest fell to Rogue. It was Stats who was able to take down the Tyrant in the finals last week.
Yeah, I mean, Zest, weakened them up for him.
Exactly. Tired him out, if you will. But again, congratulations to Solar. He does advance to the grand finals. Zest trying to switch things up there in game number 5, opting to transition out of that Sky Toss, focusing on the ground army. And he was doing some decent damage, but again, like, because the map is so small, like, whenever his zealots got cleaned up, like, Solar, he would just go across the map.
Yeah, it wasn't quite like a map like, well, if you're looking at the extreme different end, Jagannatha, where Zest would have a couple of, he'd have a couple of seconds to be able to warp in some more units there. But on Submarine, once you take the initiative, you go all the way.
Yeah, the ground army is just so much more potent, so much more powerful on Submarine, and we saw, like, there was no Spire whatsoever. To be fair, he didn't need one, and yeah, in the end, Solar was able to close it out against Zest. But as we know, Stats, he's a different kind of Protoss. He's a different kind of beast.